Okay, so I just want to make this video really quick because it's something I've been realizing lately. We need hobbies, we need passions, we need something to turn to in times where we get overwhelmed. And I feel like maybe this is like a no-brainer for people, but as I'm going throughout life more and more, I'm realizing that we should embrace our hobbies, we should embrace the things that we're passionate about unapologetically. Like, I had so many hyperfixations growing up that kind of fell out of practice, and I'm rediscovering them as an adult. Like, for example, I used to be an origami fanatic. Okay, I loved origami, and I still do. And I recently revisited it in my adulthood, and it's so healing. And I'm like, wait, younger me was like low key onto something. But one of my favorite origami creations is this little Pegasus guy. You can see I have my little hobby area over there, and that's where I grabbed him from. I feel like tapping into our hobbies, whether it's rediscovering something you used to love as a child or just embracing new things in your adulthood, is so important. For me, the stress of work really gets to me and can make me feel really hopeless. I feel like that's a common thing in this world where we get super chained to our jobs, our 9 to 5s, and we have so little time for the things we actually love to do. Even making these YouTube videos, putting my heart and soul into this channel, having my artistic hobbies that I tap into, despite all of that, is just so rejuvenating. I would say rejuvenating is a word that I would use to describe it. For a lot of neurodivergent people, especially, we get so burned out. I know that that traditional corporate 9 to 5 can be so straining, and a lot of us burn out because of it. And so, something that I personally did to kind of help aid with that is I made like a list of restorative activities, and most of the things on there are just little hobbies, little things that bring me joy, that just kind of keep that burnout at a manageable level. So yeah, I feel like it's important to incorporate those systems into your day-to-day life because it's already hard enough out here. But I think that having those things in place make the weight of the world a little less crushing. And it can even be a small thing. It can even just be revisiting things from your childhood, like I mentioned before. Like, for example, there's this website that I used to play on all the time called Girls Go Games, and I was a Flash game fanatic, I'll tell you that. And recently, I just went and I revisited that part of my life, and it was so comforting. It gives you perspective, I feel like. It makes you want to appreciate the smaller things. And I'm the kind of person who believes that we don't ever have to truly grow up. I feel like a lot of our hobbies can sometimes be seen as childish. They can be seen as something that we're meant to grow out of. Like, for example, me with my little plushies over there, that's not gonna stop, okay? Like, I am genuinely filled with joy to have those in the corner of my room. So it's just small little things like that that I feel like we can incorporate into our lives. Yes, to add a little more whimsy, but to regulate ourselves. And I just think that's so important. I don't think that is something that we should have to hide or feel like we need to grow out of, even though the world often tells us that we do. And a lot of people, we feel trapped in our 9 to 5s. We feel trapped in this rat race. And when we don't have something to dedicate ourselves to or something to put our energy toward while dealing with all of that, it can be kind of detrimental. It can take a serious toll on your mental health. And I've been there, I've experienced it. So I make it a priority to engage in my hobbies and the things that I love to do. And even if you're not neurodivergent, I feel like this advice still applies. And another thing I want to touch on is that, especially for me anyway, as a kid engaging in certain hobbies, there was not that need for perfection. You know, I was allowed to show up in a messy way and just do whatever I wanted to my heart's content. And I sometimes notice that in my adulthood, when I engage in the same hobbies or even different ones, I'm somehow trying to make it perfect and I'm not enjoying it for what it is. Because, you know, I've talked about this in previous videos. I've been a perfectionist for as long as I can remember. And I hate the way that that's infiltrated itself into things that are supposed to be my safe space. So I would also say, you know, allow yourself to just engage in things, not worrying about a finished product, but rather focusing on, does this bring you joy? Does this regulate you? Does this increase your quality of life? Language learning is a long-standing interest of mine, something that's always been a part of my life ever since childhood. And I took such a long break from it because I felt like, oh, okay, I need to be able to dedicate an hour a day to this. Like this all or nothing thinking that if I wasn't putting in consistent effort all the time, then it wouldn't be worth learning. But I was like, okay, I'm going to stop that. And I'm just going to engage in this because I've always loved this. And let's just see what happens. And I've been learning Thai recently for the past 2 months, and genuinely, I feel so happy. Like every time I engage in it, I just want to learn more and more and more. And it's so nice to have that because, you know, if I have a hard day at work, I'm like, okay, it's okay because when I get home, I'm going to be able to learn Thai. I'm going to be able to read this book I've been thinking about. I'm going to be able to make this art I've been thinking about. You know what I mean? It kind of serves as an anchor, something to come back to in those times where things just get a little hard. Even if things aren't hard, it just can enhance your day. And I also feel like, you know, hobbies aren't always something that have to be monetized. We often see that where people say, oh, try and monetize your hobby so that your work can be something that is a passion for you, so that work doesn't feel like work once you're able to make money off of it, you know? And while that can definitely be true, I feel like there are some hobbies that we don't have to share with others. There are some hobbies that can just be our own. Like, for example, I had an art shop in the past and I made content around my art, and I felt like, wait, I'm starting to make art for the algorithm. I'm starting to make these things for other people. And that's okay, right? But at that point, I wasn't really using my art just for myself anymore. And so I kind of learned how to separate those two sectors, I guess you could say, of my art. And after that, I feel like I became a lot more happy. So I think it's still important to, if you are going to monetize your hobby, if you are going to turn it into a potential income source for yourself, which I recommend, I genuinely recommend, I think it's still important to be able to do that thing without having to post it online, without having to get validation. Because I think that can genuinely suck the joy out of something that you love. Because I think it can really blur the lines of why you do the thing. You know, like at this point, are we just doing it for income and not getting any fulfillment out of it? Which again, it's fine to do for income. But if that starts to mess with your fulfillment of something that you love to do, that's where I feel like the problem arises. So it's really important to be able to separate those things. And I like the person I am when I'm engaging in things that I love. I like seeing who I am when I am genuinely interested in things, when I'm genuinely passionate about things. So yeah, I would say embrace your hobbies. Get some more, share it with other people, find a community of people who love it as much as you do and engage with that. I just think it can bring you so much fulfillment in life. And I'm speaking from experience. So yeah, let your hobbies be your safe space. Let it be something that you can turn to when life just gets a little bit too chaotic. And it doesn't have to be something you engage with for a super long time, because I know we're busy out here, okay? In this world that we live in, it's hard to manage everything. But I would still say, try to find time. Try to tend to those things that you love so much, because you're gonna thank yourself. You're gonna thank yourself. In my previous video, I mentioned that art is at the forefront of my life. I could not imagine living in this world without art, without being able to produce it and to consume it. It's so important to me. So that kind of ties into this as well, like, even if I can't make art that day, maybe I'm consuming it. Maybe I'm getting ideas for my next project. That brings me fulfillment. I was talking to a friend recently. We kind of go through the same struggles. We're both neurodivergent. We struggle with the demands of day-to-day life. He was talking about something that he was interested in, and I was asking, like, are you still keeping up with that? What are you doing with that? And he was like, oh yeah, I had to take a break from it because I need to focus on school, but I still come back to this. I still add my thoughts and ideas for this whenever I can. And he described it as this guiding light in his life. And I just think that's so beautiful. I think that is so important, to find something that lights your soul up that much that it quite literally becomes the thing that you strive toward. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. I hope this helped somebody. I hope that this video maybe provided you a little bit of comfort. Thank you guys so much for watching.